I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati.
All right. Happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome to Sab's podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. I have a special guest with me tonight, my comrade from RBN, JB Fonts in the house. What's going on, JB?
Pew, pew. Hey, everybody. What's going on? So good to see you. Doobie doobie doo. How are you? All right.
Okay,
Hi.
we have some things to get into, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and share my thumbnail here. So JB's gonna be here at least for the first story, but tonight I'm gonna talk about Khanna and Robert Reich interview. That was a pretty interesting discussion. They were talking about next steps for the Democratic Party, so I want to get into that. I'm also going to discuss Tom Brady, FTX chaos. Yes, I'm finally going to talk about FTX. I've had time now to research it. I got a lot to say about that. There's so much that's come out about it. We're also going to talk about Olayemi Lauren speaks out. Power to Olayemi there. She did the damn thing. And last but not least, I'm also going to discuss Haitians Deported. So another story that is developing there that I feel does deserve more coverage. But first up and foremost, JB is here. We're going to talk about what Olayemi Lauren said on Twitter, because I feel like this really needs to be heard by more people. So I'm going to give props where props are due, giving props here to Olayemi. So if you guys have not noticed, there has been a lot of backlash on Twitter and other social media recently because of a movie that's coming out. It's called Strange World. And the criticism that people have is the fact that one of the characters is a gay black boy. Right? He's actually biracial, the character in the movie, but there's been a lot of people really upset about that. That includes people from the African American community. And then also we talked about Club Q, the shooting that happened there last night. And there's also been criticism about that as well, as like, from the African American community, some people are saying that Black people should not fight for LGBTQ rights, as if Black people can't be LGBTQ. So I'm glad JB came on to talk about this with me, because Olayemi did the damn thing. So I'm going to show you her tweet first, and then I'm going to show you the video clip. So Olayemi said, "I am tired of the same Black people quick to share quotes from James Baldwin, Bell Hooks, Andre Lorde, Langston Hughes, and every other Black queer thinker and activist, turning around and telling us to ignore the plights of our Black queer brothers and sisters. This must stop." And she went on to say, "I am sick of homophobic Black people dismissing not only the Blackness of queer Black people, but pretending that Black queer people haven't played a pivotal role in Black liberation movements. Absolutely no way you're going to quote Angela Davis and still push those homophobic lies." JB, thoughts?
Sabs. Yeah. So there is an issue, like I said earlier in my show today. there's an issue in the Black community when it comes to homophobia and transphobia. And in the Black radical revolutionary tradition, there have been and there always was queer Black people that actually fought for our liberation, not just those of us who are queer, but every single Black person. And so for Black people to sit there and to demonize us, even when it comes to us having some type of representation, is insulting to your own people. It's just like you got some of the guys who will go, oh, well, they're emasculating Black men. What is emasculating of us being gay? What's emasculating of us being trans? What is emasculating about that? Also, if the lack of masculinity if the opposite of that is considered to be femininity, then are you saying that femininity is bad? Are you saying that being a woman or having feminine traits is bad in some way, shape, or form? Is that what you're saying? So now you're dogging your mom, your sister, your auntie, your grandma, and yes, your femme cousin or your femme brother or sister. So now you're not only you're dogging the people who are LGBTQ, but you're dogging the women in your life.
Yep.
Oh, but then you go, but you know what? And then some people will mistakenly say, well, being gay, that's from colonialism. And then I want to remind you how, especially in many indigenous cultures, they actually knew of people who were transgender, and they actually had a name for them. They called them two-spirit people. And so a lot of times people who were trans were actually uplifted in those communities. So really, if you want to talk about it, a lot of the colonialism was actually brought on. They actually brought over Abrahamic religions that were actually homophobic and transphobic.
Yep.
And so guess what? Then we learned to be homophobic and transphobic.
Yep.
Because of colonialism. So for you to sit here and to bash and demean and attack those of us in the Black queer community, well, if you're not for Black liberation, just say it.
That's
just
right.
tell us that you're not for Black liberation, because Black liberation means liberating all of us. Because people like Langston Hughes and people like James Baldwin were there fighting for all of us. They weren't just fighting for us queer people. See, we're not going to separate. I'm Black and gay all day, baby. And so the thing is that if that's who I am all day, then guess what? I'm going to fight for you too. So, see, when they do that, they're really fighting against themselves, because there's a lot of us that are queer and a lot more of us that are still in the closet. It's not just those of us who live in Atlanta. Trust me, there's way more than that of us out there. So that's my thing. It's sad.
Yeah, it really is. And people have to understand that, like, marginalized communities should not put down other marginalized communities. Like, you just don't do that. And I'm really sick of it too. Like, I've noticed this my whole life. I'm not LGBTQ, but I have noticed this all my life. I have watched this happen in the African American community, where they will put down and shame queer people as if Black people are not LGBTQ. And this is where the intersectionality part comes in. So you have to understand intersectionality. JB can't separate himself. JB can't just be like, okay, I'm only Black. He's not. He can't just be like, okay, I'm only LGBTQ. There's more to it than that. And so when people make these statements, it just makes me feel like they want to pretend as though Black people are not a part of the LGBTQ community. And it's offensive. And it's a problem. And I'm going to play this clip here from Olayemi as well, because This set her off, and like she made a little video about it on Twitter. So let's hear what she had to say here. She said, "What you're not going to do is tell me, a person who spends their life advocating for Black people, that I don't have the time to advocate for LGBTQ persons, especially when those communities intersect." See, this is the intersectionality piece. "Miss me with the homophobia masquerading as Black activism." So listen to what she said. I'm going to make this larger for you guys.
You know what's so funny to me about people and their homophobia and their pretenses, right? Whenever I say anything about the plight of members of the LGBTQ community, right? There are always some Black people that are just homophobic. That's all it is. They're fucking homophobic. They come and be like, "Oh, we can't be arguing about this or talking about this when we have, issues in the Black community." Okay, first and foremost, not only is there an intersection, right? Being a member of these communities is not mutually exclusive, which is something y'all dumbass, but y'all just want to act as though Black queer people don't count or don't matter. That's one. But two, I am a person who advocates for Black people all day, every day. Like, I literally, that's my life. It's all who don't do that trying to tell you that you don't have time to do both. You don't use your time to do either. Like, you don't use your time to do either. One of us gets out of jail. One of us spends their entire life advocating for. So if I have time to do it all, how you gonna tell me? And at the end of the day, that's nothing but fucking homophobia, because there's no way that you could be advocating for Black liberation if we were advocating about something for Black people, right? And then white people responded, "Oh, we don't have time to do all of that because we need to go do something else." You would recognize that for what that is, which is fucking racism. You just don't like what's happening. You just don't care about the LGBTQ community because you're homophobic as fuck, and so you want to pretend as though we only have time for one plight. I'm very, very sick of Black people that are okay with the same level of prejudices and discrimination and the same rationale that's used for discriminating against us. Y'all are comfortable using that against everybody else or whoever you don't care about. And that's some. There are two arguments in particular that I'm fucking sick of because they're baseless in their lies that people use to defend and mitigate their own homophobia, right? And it's always like, "Oh, the LGBT community don't advocate for us," or blah, blah. The amount of Black people and advocates that have been queer is extreme. Like, y'all around here, y'all worship Angela Davis, y'all love all these thinkers, y'all quick to want to talk about Harlem Renaissance and yada yada, y'all love up a James Baldwin quote, yada 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 yada. But it's
hold on. Tight VNC is acting up.
You love to do this thing where it's like, oh, they don't need.
I don't know what's wrong with. Give me just a second. This thing sometimes needs to be refreshed. 2020. Let's refresh it. And we'll get back to it. But okay. 20, I think it was 220. Let's just start there.
Harlem Renaissance and yada yada, y'all love up a James Baldwin quote, yada 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 yada, but it's Black queer people. Then, second of all, you love to do this thing where it's like, "Oh, they don't need us because they have power. The LGBT community has its own issues." Again, just ignoring the intersection between that and the Black community. But it's like, Black trans women, the Black queers are more endangered than anybody else in the LGBTQ community, and they don't have anybody speaking up for them. They don't have any power or any kind of advocacy like that. So why wouldn't we do it? Y'all are dicks. Y'all are homophobic dickheads, and that's just about it. And y'all are awful fucking people, period. Because y'all are gonna stop acting like Black queer people are fucking unicorns. Like, you don't know. Black queer people are everywhere. So there's no way you don't have family, friends, and people in your life that are Black queer people. And you just think it's okay to be like, you're a dick. You're a fucking piece of shit. And let me tell y'all something about y'all. I am not, okay? I have Black queer family. I have Black queer friends. And if you think that I am going to have a platform or I am ever going to spend my time in this life advocating for people and I'm going to make an executive decision to exclude my, you have me. And let me tell you something. Don't come in my messages with no bull, all right? Because if you have me a little bit past off, look out.
JB.
Woo! sugar honey iced tea.
They pissed Olayemi off.
Oh, Woo, I felt the ancestors in that one. Look. Number one, I gotta clap it up for Olayemi. Clap it up for our homegirl. She did the damn thing. Look, I seen 1,000 femmes go, period. That's what I saw when she said that. The thing is that, and I just put it in the private chat. You cannot sit here and praise so many different people, and yet you speak out against those same people. You cannot do that. A lot of people don't know who Bayard Rustin was, and Bayard Rustin was actually a queer man that designed the March on Washington that MLK famously spoke the I Have a Dream speech at. He was the one that designed it, a gay man. And so when it comes to the actual liberation of everyone, we have been the ones that have been pushing. Look, who is Marsha P. Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Who is Marsha P. Johnson? Marsha P. Johnson is a real one. Because she literally put a brick to a cop's face and then started Pride. That's who that is. So the thing is that everybody wants to talk about and demonize us. And the thing is that you cannot. We have been in your families for forever, and to demonize us, and then on top of it, complain like our causes are your causes. What we fight for is what thing that you. If you're fighting for black liberation, you are literally having to fight for us. And we can't separate you, so you can't separate us.
That's right.
We are part of your community. We are your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, your uncles. Some of us are also your moms and your dads. Because some people ain't come out until after they had kids.
Yep.
So some of us are your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your aunties, your uncles, your grandparents. Some of us are your great-grandparents. We had to hide ourselves, so we had to make it seem like we were straight when we weren't. Some of us are your ancestors that were working out in the fields and the sugar plantations and the tobacco plantations and the cotton gins. Some of us were those people too. Some of us are people who you were born from, but they never got to actually live out their lives the way their heart actually wanted to. They actually had to hide themselves, actually be with somebody who they weren't attracted to, have kids, and then continue the legacy.
That's right. And I want to comment on this right here. The Jammin said nobody's fighting over who's more oppressed. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Actually, people are fighting over that on social media. That's why Olayemi gave that rant that she gave, because people are actually doing that right now. Yeah. And they've been doing it especially since, like I said, they advertised the movie Strange World. People come out against that. Because of the nightclub shooting, there are people on social media saying Black people, LGBTQ community is not your community. It's not your fight. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. We cannot sit here and pretend as if there are not Black people that are LGBTQ. And I'm so tired of this. Like, honestly, a lot of this comes from the Black church. And I'm going to point this out because, Eric, thank you so much for this. The Black church has lots to answer for in terms of shaming the LGBTQ community. 100%. This is why now, even today in 2022, you still have Black people that feel like they cannot come out. That's why. That's a big part of it.
Yep. And yet they're cool with having the gay guy be the choir director.
That's right.
They're cool with that. But same time, just keep it all inside. Don't actually let it out. And then you get the people who go, well, I'm cool with gay people, but you guys just shouldn't put it all in our face. And I'm like, put it all what in your face? The same way your heterosexuality is put all in front of our face? If it should be normal for you, then it should be normal for us. Why in the world can't we have it normal? Oh, because you don't want it to be normal, because you think that we shouldn't be out in front. I said this before and I say it again. The people who lead these movements should be the most disenfranchised and oppressed among us. That means that it's not just people that look like us, but it's also people that may love differently than you.
Mm-hmm.
We got to unpack that. That's the thing. As Black people, we got to unpack that. Because the thing is, you're sitting here and you're talking about emasculation, and that comes from the manosphere BS. Those Canvas Samuels and their followers BS. That's what it is. Hey, Indy. And so it's coming from that, and it's also basically, oh, well, you got to be a high value man and all this other BS. Like, no, you don't have to follow that same thing.
Jonathan brings up a good point as well, but let's keep it 100. There is racism with the mainstream white LGBTQ community. That's true. That's true as well. But the fact that people are this angry about a cartoon character that isn't even real, about a cartoon character, it's ridiculous. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. You know, it's like, and it's not just, I want to be very clear, it's not just conservatives. Liberals, they be this way too. It's like, they'll tell you that they're okay with it. They'll tell you, yeah, people should be able to date whoever they want. They'll say that, but they don't want it living next door to them, though. And I've seen that. I live in liberal, progressive / whatever, Massachusetts, and I've seen that same type of behavior from these so-called liberals who say that they agree that gay marriage, should stay. They'll say that. But then they don't want a gay person living next door to them, though.
You know what's funny? We never actually voted on gay marriage in this country. It was done through the courts, where they actually approved it. You know who actually voted for and actually passed legislation not only for gay marriage but for gay adoption too? Cuba. They actually voted on it, and they actually passed it before the United States ever did. Cuba is literally more progressive than the United States. Doesn't that blow your mind? I hope it does. And so here's the thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And for people who mention Massachusetts, because we were the first state to allow gay marriage, we didn't vote on it either, guys. Do a lot of people know that? We didn't vote on it. That happened because GLAAD, the organization GLAAD, fought back against the Superior Court in Massachusetts, and because they weren't allowing gay couples to marry. That's how that happened. They put pressure on, they fought back against them, and they sued them. That's why gay marriage was legalized in Massachusetts. A lot of people don't know that. They think we voted. It was not a vote.
Now, I do want to address a tweet by Kate. Wait, hang on. By Monarch says LGBTQ among themselves need to evaluate why they're still supporting the duopoly system. If LGBTQ thought these things thoroughly, we wouldn't hear much clash from LGBTQs, much like Mike F. I'm going to address that. Let's replace LGBTQ with straight. Straight among themselves need to evaluate why they are still supporting the duopoly system. If straight people thought these things through thoroughly, we wouldn't hear clashes among straight people. See, here's the thing. And I'm not discounting what you say. The thing is that there are liberals and conservatives that are also gay. And there are capitalists that are gay. There are oligarchs that are probably gay. So, and so it would behoove us, yes, to actually come together like that. but there are also a lot of like gay people that are brainwashed, that are propagandized too. And so this is why I feel it's a responsibility on myself to be in this media space in order to also get to them as well. And so I kind of wear that hat too. And so this is why I try to talk to them. But there's just as much variability politically with gay people and LGBTQ people as there is with straight people. I mean, hell, look at Caitlyn Jenner, conservative, and trans. So, but I get what you do mean, Monarch, and that's a good point. I do get what you mean though. Thank you.
But a lot of this it starts in the church. A lot of it starts in the Black church, and that's why people have some of the opinions they have. I mean, the fact that in 2022, you have some, not all, you have some Black people in the South, particularly because I lived in the Bible Belt, so I know what was going on. Where you still have some people who feel like they still can't come out in 2022 because of the church.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because they feel like if they do, then they lose everyone. They feel like if they do, they lose their family members and they lose their friends because they're so propagandized into thinking that if you are queer, then, we have to reject you. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. And hell, this even contributes to the homeless problem.
Yep.
How many kids are out there on the street because their family rejected them and then kicked them out of the house because they're gay?
Yep. And then that happens more often than people would realize, Yeah. So it's really disappointing. And like what really killed me is like it was very disturbing to me to see Ben Shapiro, to see like liberals saying the exact same thing that Ben Shapiro was saying about gay people, about a freaking character in a movie that's a cartoon.
Yep. And then it's funny how, you'll get people who, will say, oh, but, they're pushing it on us. And I'm like, are they really pushing it on us? Like, I don't think so. I mean, and I'm sharing this. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but I'm sharing my screen really quick. But it's like pushing it on us. Really? Look, all straight people, all straight couples, and scenes, basically, where it's like, and if that's the case, and people will say, well, if you have gay characters in kids' movies, it's going to turn the kids gay. I'm like, look, I am queer as hell, and y'all have been pushing straight characters in movies in front of me for God knows how long, and I still got a crush on Aladdin. How you gonna tell me? Oh well, if we put gay characters in kids' movies, then they're gonna turn out gay. Why did it work for me?
Well, I'm gonna show everyone what we're talking, because the people are asking like, what's the movie? This is the movie. It's called Strange World. So if you went to see if you see Wakanda Forever, they showed the trailer for it at that movie. But this is the movie that people are losing their shit over on Twitter, and they're like, I can't believe they made the character, the black boy, gay. That's what people are living. People ain't even seen the movie yet. They ain't even seen the movie.
They ain't even watch the trailer.
And people are pissed over a cartoon character. That's what's sparking a lot of the conversation. That and of course that the nightclub shooting that we talked about last night, where people are jumping in and saying black people don't do this, don't do that. And it's just like, again, what people have to understand is like JB can't separate himself. I can't separate myself It's like I'm a woman, but I'm also black. So I can't separate. You see what I mean? It kills me. I don't like when marginalized groups shit on other marginalized groups. Sean, people need to grow the fuck up and read Marx. Yeah, it's really sad. Oh my God. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there was a video by the Consciously where he actually talks about he debunks a lot of what is said, regarding queer people, because he's a straight guy, but he debunks a lot of what is being said, especially by what we like to call the Hotep community. These are the ones that are they're kind of more black nationalistic, and they're homophobic and transphobic, and a lot of times they're also kind of xenophobic in a way, and some of them can be, not all of them, but some can be. And so, they always, are talking about, they're always espousing homophobic things. So, he said something about that, but I don't think we have time for that. But it was, if you guys can follow Consciously on Twitter, he also has a TikTok. He's also really good too.
Oh yeah, he is good. I've seen his videos on TikTok. Yeah, he is good. Yeah. He has a good way of breaking things down. Jonathan said they were pissed over the gay interracial couple on The Proud Family. That's right. I remember that. Yeah. Well, kudos to Olayemi. Shout out to her because she did the damn thing. And make sure you follow her on Twitter too, because her videos are mainly just posted on Twitter. Because I don't think she's on YouTube. So if you want to see more clips from her, follow her on Twitter.
Definitely.
All right, JB, what else you got coming up though?
I will be reading Dirty Truths on my channel by Michael Parenti, and I will be continuing the reading of Assata Shakur's autobiography on my channel as well. So I'll be doing that. And I will be having my show again next Tuesday at 2 p.m. So yeah.
All right, JB. Thanks so much. Talk to you later.
Thank you so much. You have yourself a great day. See you on the interweb, Sabs.
Bye.
Doobie-doobie-doo.
JB's awesome, you guys. Guys, make sure you're following JB's channel because he has a separate channel too. Like most of us at RBN do. We have RBN and we have a separate channel, but make sure you follow him on YouTube. His channel is his name, JB Font. So yeah. All right. Quick shout out to patrons and we'll get into our next story. Oh my God, I have so much to say tonight. This is cray. This is mad cray. All right. Shout out to everyone who's a Sabby patron. Thank you so much for your support. If you're interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories: members, Sabbies, Sabsters, Sabinators, and of course, the ultimate. All of their names are listed here, and they're also scrolling across the bottom of the screen as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Optimism of the Will. What is up? I am so glad you're addressing this. I see way too much Black homophobia, and you all are giving me so many tools to confront it. Thank you. Well said, Optimism. Well said. Now, we have some heaviness tonight. So we're going to get the heavy out the way first. We're going to get the heavy stories out the way first. And this one involves Haiti. So I have talked about Haiti on here a couple times before. Things are not improving for Haitians. Things are not getting better in Haiti. And apparently also, things are not getting better in the Dominican Republic either. I don't know how many people know about this, but there's been a lot of talk about Russia and Ukraine and what's happening in these European countries, and not enough focus on what is happening in countries like Haiti in Africa, in Syria, in Yemen, in Afghanistan. You guys have heard me complain about this before. But did you guys know right now, the Dominican Republic is deporting Haitians? I kid you not. Let's get into the article, and I have a couple of clips I want to show as well. Dominican Republic steps up Haitian deportations, raising tensions. So let's go ahead and get into this story here. The Dominican Republic is stepping up deportations of Haitians and is creating a police unit focused on foreigners, fueling tensions between the two Caribbean nations, whose relations have for decades been marred by migration disputes. What you have to understand, and I'm going to actually try to see if I can get Pascal back on for this discussion. You really got to look at the history between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Now, Pascal is really, really advanced on this topic. He wrote a book about it. He's talked about it multiple times. So I would like to get him back on to talk about the history of it. But yes, there have been tensions between the two, even though they share an island. That heated tension has been there. Let's go on. Dominican President Luis Abinader last week issued a decree calling for stepped up migration protocols enforcement and the creation of a police unit to investigate foreigners living in illegal land occupation. Now, it says foreigners, but the group that they're targeting are Haitians. Guys, they share an island. They want them out. So here you have like the Haitian people. They tried to migrate to the U.S. And the U.S. government said, no, you can't come here. Push them out. And now you have Haitians being pushed out of the Dominican Republic. They share an island. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. One of the things I've noticed when I look at countries across the world, Haiti is one of the most vilified and demonized countries in the world by all parties, not just the Dominican Republic, the United States as well. Let's go on. Critics in Haiti have noted those plans run counter to a United Nations call for countries not to return citizens to Haiti due to chronic gang violence. Now, we talked about that on here before. Dan Cohen came on for that discussion. He was there and he reported on this. And he also has a documentary that's coming out about the gang violence that they're referring to. Prime Minister Ariel Henry is very concerned about the mass deportations that are taking place in the Dominican Republic. He goes on to say, we hope that the rights of our citizens are respected. But that's funny coming from him because he doesn't respect the rights of his citizens in Haiti. That's why the protests were happening, guys. They were protesting against him and the fuel hikes. That was a big part of it. You guys know that cholera is back in Haiti. You know how you get cholera? You don't have clean water. You don't have water. You don't have enough clean water for you to wash your hands. That's how you get cholera. The water is connected to the fuel hikes. All of this is connected. So they now have cholera back in Haiti. Let's go on. The Dominican Republic Foreign Ministry did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, called on the Dominican Republic to halt deportations of Haitians, citing violence and systemic human rights violations in their home country. Abinader, in comments broadcast by Dominican media, described Turk's comments as unacceptable and irresponsible, saying that the Dominican Republic did not have resources to help more Haitians and added that authorities would boost deportations. It was not immediately evident how many Haitians have been deported since the decree took effect. Jean Bonnier Delva, head of the National Migration Office, told local media on Tuesday the figure was around 50,000 in the last 3 months. That period coincided with the humanitarian crisis caused by a 6-week gang blockade of fuel terminal, causing shortages of gasoline and diesel that crippled most economic activity. But again, why were they blocking the fuel? This uprising that you see happening in Haiti is because of the leadership of Ariel Henry. The people are tired. The people are pissed. The people are poor. So you have people, a lot of poor people who just got poor. They're more poor now. So they're upset with his leadership. And by the way, Ariel Henry is a puppet of the U.S. government. Just FYI, for those who are not aware. So this is what happens when the people are economically stripped. They are going to rise up. Those things are going to happen. The only place you don't really see it happening is in the United States. You notice that? We see it in Sri Lanka. We covered that story. You see it happen in India. You see it happening in Haiti. It's just the United States. We're the ones that kind of just sit back and say, oh man, this is really fucked up. I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of struggling. But we don't hit the streets over that though. We don't hit the streets over that. They do. Let's go on and then we're going to get to the clip here. And it goes on to say, Ulrika Richardson, resident and humanitarian coordinator for the UN system in Haiti, told reporters on Wednesday that UN officials have been working to promote information sharing and dialogue between the two countries. I want to show you what it actually looks like. I want to show you what they're doing. Now, shout out to, we'll go to the video and then I'll go back to that article. Al Jazeera, because Al Jazeera, they are covering this type of information. They've been covering these stories for a while. I want to show you what the deportations look like. Watch this.
It's become an all too common scene. Haitian refugees detained in the Dominican Republic. We met them in this military base in Dajabon, right at the border. They're being sent back to Haiti, even those who say they've built new lives here.
My husband works in a construction site and I was cooking at home when the police arrived. They wouldn't let me get my baby's clothes. I left all my money at home and I have nothing here.
Security forces here are telling us that most of...
I don't know why this thing, type BNC is not working well. Let me refresh again. Okay.
It's become an all too common scene.
Trying to speed up here. There we go.
Son. She shows us his birth certificate that proves he was born in the Dominican Republic.
My son has a birth certificate. He was born here. They cannot send him back to Haiti.
The UN has called on the Dominican Republic to halt deportations. Haiti is in the midst of a political crisis that has gangs controlling.
Do you guys understand one of the problems they're running into? There are some Haitian refugees that live in the Dominican Republic and they had kids in the Dominican Republic. So their kids have a DR birth certificate. So what are you going to do? Like, how are you deporting someone who was born there? See, this is why I call bullshit when they say it's just because of the gang violence and all this kind of stuff. This is why I call BS, because how are you going to deport someone who was born in the Dominican Republic? That doesn't make any sense. Then what are you going to do? Separate the child from the family and say, okay, well, the mother, you have to go back to Haiti, but your child stays here. Who's going to raise that child? This doesn't make any sense. That's why I say this is purposely an attack on Haitians. And I want to show you another article after this clip that proves that point. Let's go on.
In large parts of the country, thousands are fleeing. Lack of available healthcare services in Haiti have forced pregnant women to cross the border to deliver their children. but many are not allowed inside Dominican hospitals, and some have had their children on the street. Human rights activists say,
Guys, they're not even allowed to go to the hospital. You see how they're pushing them out? We're not even going to take care of your health. It's crazy.
they're alarmed about what they call our President Luis Abinader's persecution of Haitians in his country.
There are massive deportations, and the cases are not individual. There's no due process. There's children with papers, others with just visas. It's just massive and a scandal. Even pregnant women being sent back to Haiti, and the law says that shouldn't be done.
The Dominican Republic is building a wall to protect its borders from smugglers, but also illegal migrants. Rubén Silie says his country is poor and cannot allow everyone in.
The only mechanism the Dominican Republic...
Okay, so he says that his country is poor and can't allow everyone in, but these are people who were already there. If this woman had a baby in the Dominican Republic, and that tells me she'd been there for a while. You see what I mean? We saw the son. It's not like he was a newborn. So she'd been there for a while. So if they're saying we can't take in any more refugees, that still doesn't explain why you're getting rid of the ones that were already there. Just come out and say it. Just come out and say you don't like Haitian people. Just come out and say that, because that's really what this is about.
has is to show that it will not tolerate migrant irregularity or the deportations, and this is what we are doing. This has nothing to do with ethnical reasons or racism. That's
Bullshit.
Another problem. If the state stops all deportations, we do not know what could happen here.
Haiti is facing its worst crisis in years. Human rights groups say its people are being discriminated against across the region. And they're asking the Dominican Republic, among other governments, for empathy for those who are trying to escape hunger, violence, and have no place to go.
Do you know where they're taking you?
Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Dajabon, on the Haitian border.
See how they just load them up and ship them out? They're going to tell you that it has nothing to do with ethnicity or anything like that, but that's bullshit. That's bullshit. They're targeting them. Targeting them. Now, there's more that I want to share as well. So I saw this article here, and this is how I say, no, it's an attack on the Haitian people. Listen to this, you guys. Widespread panic as anti-Haitian decree goes into effect in the Dominican Republic. So, you see, videos have flooded out of the Dominican Republic in recent days showing security forces caroling Black people outside their homes and loading them into cages on migrant control trucks to be carted off and presumably placed in detention centers or deported. These arrests are a drastic ramp up of President Luis Abinader's anti-Haitian policies enabled through Decree 688-22 and issued on Friday. Again, even here, they're telling you they're anti-Haitian policies. The decree, which has yet to be signed into law, was issued for the prevention and persecution of invasions and irregular occupations of private and state property. The order reads, it also creates a new specialized division of the National Police whose sole purpose is to pursue foreigners that illegally occupy such properties. Now, let me explain something to you. They have to say foreigners, because if they explicitly say Haitians, then it's obvious that they're being racist. Let's be real. You can't make it that obvious, so we got to say the words foreigners. Everyone should watch. There's a documentary by Huey Lewis Gates where he goes to the Dominican Republic and he goes to Haiti. I watched this documentary a couple years ago, and you know what they talk about? The race relations between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And he interviews Dominicans and he interviews Haitians. And there's that, we need to talk about this. There is that type of we say anti-Haitian, but there's a racial component to it as well. Because what you have to understand, and this is not to say all Dominican people are this way, right? What you have to understand when you look at the history about the Dominican Republic, you have to understand the history was whitewashed. The people, the leaders at that time, they tried to remove every speck of African history from the Dominican Republic. They replaced the African leaders, the statues of the African leaders, they replaced them with white ones, with Spaniard ones, so that the people growing up in the Dominican Republic would think we have no African relations. It's very sad. Like, you watch that documentary, take a deep breath before you watch it. And on the documentary, you have the gentleman that Huey Lewis Gates was interviewing about it. You have him openly admitting it to it, how they whitewashed the history. So if you whitewash the history and then you have Haitians right next to you, even though you share an island, it is easier for you to point to them and say, oh, well, we're not like them. People need to know about that. So it goes on to say here, at any moment, they can take us because we're Haitian and they don't want us on their land. Now, that's coming from an undocumented Haitian immigrant who's asked to remain anonymous for fear of government reprisal. This is crazy. A large share of Haitian migrants in the Dominican Republic come seeking better living conditions and jobs that can help them escape the turmoil in their home country. The unnamed Haitian immigrant who spoke with Latino Rebels said he and his partner initially came to the DR because they were looking for work and because there was no security in Haiti. And here's the numbers. More than 4,500 people were arrested on Monday with the intent to deport them. They're rounding people up. And I have another clip here that I want to show you as well. Like I said, Al Jazeera has been on it. They've been talking about this for a while. So this is the second part. Listen to this, because they're talking about building a wall. Does that sound familiar? Listen to it.
A wall to divide the Caribbean island of Hispaniola. It's designed to separate the Dominican Republic from Haiti. Dominican General Rafael Núñez says the wall will play a crucial role in protecting his country against contraband and illegal immigration.
Over there, you can see where the first stage ends that involved this part of the country of the perimeter wall that we are building.
Haiti is in turmoil, and thousands are desperate to escape gang-related violence and hunger. The Dominican Republic is trying to prevent refugees from entering the country and has deported over 50,000 Haitians in the past 5 months. General Frank Cabrera says the Dominican government is simply not equipped to offer refuge to so many needy people.
See, they're using that same talking point that they don't have the space, but that doesn't explain why they're kicking out the people who were already there.
We share a border with one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti is in the middle of a political, economic and social crisis. Some say that 60% is controlled by armed non-state actors or gangs.
Haiti been poor. Haiti been poor. What's this really about? Why are they talking about this like this just happened yesterday? Haiti has been poor for decades. For decades.
Imagine a country that is controlled by gangs. We allow Haitians to cross and get supplies, but cannot do much more.
And that's why for many, this wall is necessary.
This is what the fence is going to look like. It's going to be about 4 meters tall. And in some areas where
it's Trump's border wall, you guys.
There's like more population, it's going to have metal bars. And in rural areas, it's going to look much more like this type because the risks of people trying to cross over are smaller.
Well, hell, I can get over that wall. If that's as high as this wall is going to be, I can get over this. I'm sorry. All I need is a boost. You give me a boost, and I put my little sneaker in the little hole right there in the fence, and I can get over that. So good luck with that wall.
Over are smaller.
The wall is being built mostly by Haitian workers here in the country legally, who represent some of the Dominican Republic's cheap labor force.
So they have the Haitian people building the wall that is going to keep them out. Ain't that some shit? That's messed up, right? That's messed up. That's like when Trump said Mexico was going to pay for the wall. They actually have the people that they're trying to keep out build the wall to keep them out.
The wall is expected to cover 164 kilometers of the almost 400 that divide both countries. But in Haiti, people say it won't stop them from crossing over and over again.
We're here living on an island and they're trying to stop migrants from crossing. But you can't really stop this phenomenon. It's going to happen. Even if they deport people, this will continue to happen. There has to be a change here in Haiti. This is what's needed.
Promoting stability in Haiti is a stated priority for countries in the region. But so far, most attempts have failed. Human rights groups say the wall is a misguided use of resources that will further militarize the area and only push.
They don't have the money, they said, to take care of Haitian refugees, but they got money to build that wall. Yeah, they say it's cheap labor, but they still got money to build that wall. You see what I mean? What? So they're ramping up the police state. They're creating a more militarized presence.
People to take greater risks to escape. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Dajabon, at the Haitian-Dominican border.
Please share this story with other people, because it's not being, I mean, with the exception of, like I said, Dan Cohen covers this stuff. Pascal covers this as well. But for the most part, from what I've seen, most people aren't even talking about it. I'm going to go to some of the comments here. And whenever the Rockfin comments are ready, Roger, it's not Roger, Eric, I'll take those as well. Rodrigo, Sabby, thoughts on Black Panther Wakanda Forever? Yes. So I thought it was good. I don't think it was better than the first one. It's hard to beat that, especially if you don't have T'Challa. But I also noticed a lot of CIA propaganda in it, in the second one. So yeah, that's my take on that. Bling Girl, foreigners from the same island. Exactly. This doesn't make any sense. That don't make any sense. Yasmin, a lot of Dominicans have Afrocentric features, darker skin, hair, etc. I really don't understand how they can pretend they also don't have African ancestry. Yeah, but I'm telling you, they tried to whitewash the history. Like if you watch, the name of that documentary is called, Eric, I thought you put it in the chat, but I lost it. I think it's Henry Louis Gates. I think it's called Black in Latin America. That's what it's called. Black in Latin America. Look that up. They changed the history books too, you guys. Like they really, when I say they tried to whitewash the history, any African presence that was there, they tried to remove it. There it is. Henry Louis Gates, Black in Latin America. Watch that documentary. That's a really good one. Really good. Okay. Rick, been happening for decades down here in Texas. Who do you think constructs the wall here? Undocumented workers. Wow. Eric, whenever you have Rockfin up, I'll take those comments as well, because I see one went through. We're gonna get into this FTX story. You guys have been asking me to cover this. I told you I was not going to cover it until I did some research. And I'm glad that I did some research, because more has come out over the past couple of days. FTX is crypto. So there was a gentleman, Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried. He decided to start this crypto called FTX. Now, there are many layers to this, many layers. I have different parts I'm going to discuss with you, but also I'm going to tell you who has been affected by the collapse of FTX, because the names just change every day. It's another group that's been affected by this. So more is coming out. First and foremost, let's do a quick timeline of the FTX collapse. Let's go ahead and play this clip here so you guys can see how things actually transpired.
The collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX has rattled the crypto world and set off a scramble to find billions of missing dollars. And to make things even more complicated, cryptocurrency exchanges are so new that bankruptcy courts haven't yet had to sort out complex legal questions surrounding their collapse. So, here are 3 things to know about FTX's bankruptcy case. First, there's a growing jurisdiction battle over where bankruptcy proceedings should take place, the US or the Bahamas. On November 11th, the day that FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried resigned, FTX and more than 130 corporate affiliates filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Delaware. But the Bahamas government appears to be challenging that venue.
By the way, Delaware, that's where a lot of the credit card companies are located there. Insurance too, for some reason, but just FYI. So this is where this starts. So that Sam Bankman-Fried resigns as FTX new management. So this is when things started to really pop off. Let's go further.
November 15th, a Bahamas court-appointed liquidator filed for Chapter 15 bankruptcy in New York on behalf of FTX Digital Markets. And he essentially asked to move some of the legal proceedings to the Bahamas. He argued that the Bahamas has jurisdiction over FTX Digital and other entities that were operated by SBF out of a huge office complex in Nassau. It's not uncommon for the Bahamas to oversee the bankruptcy of a Bahamas-based company, but FTX's new leaders have criticized the move, calling it a blatant attempt to avoid the supervision of the court in Delaware and keep the FTX subsidiary in the Bahamas isolated from the rest of the company. They argue that all the proceedings should take place in a single bankruptcy court, the one in Delaware, so that the company can secure its assets. A hearing over the venue dispute is scheduled for Monday. Speaking of FTX's new management, it looks like we'll be hearing a lot from John J. Ray. He's the new FTX CEO, and he has unwound Enron and other major corporate failures. He has already become a key figure in the proceedings, and he drove headlines with a court filing on Thursday. In it, he pointed out that he has over 40 years of legal and restructuring experience, and that never in his career had he seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information.
And so many people jumped on board with this, you guys. It's like crazy. Like, we're going to talk about the celebrities that endorsed this. People lost a lot of money. Sam lost like over $16 billion. I'm not exaggerating. The guy who started it, he lost like $16 billion. So this is huge. This is huge.
Filing went on to paint a picture of FTX's chaotic finances. And regarding the balance sheets of FTX and its subsidiaries, Ray repeatedly said, "I do not have confidence in them." An email sent to Bankman-Fried for comment bounced back. FTX's new management is now scrambling to figure out just how much money the company even has. So what does this all mean for customers? There are still a lot of unknowns. This is the largest collapse of a cryptocurrency exchange ever, and it's
in history. And there's something else I want to mention too, because this is where the White House can come in and say, see, we told you we need to regulate crypto. And that's something they've been pushing for. I mean, I'm not big into the whole crypto thing. Like, I have it because of Rockfin. Rockfin does crypto. They don't do, they don't have what YouTube has, like a Google AdSense. Like, Rockfin doesn't have that. So they do like the crypto. I haven't had any issues over there with them, but they don't use that one, like, which is probably good. They use the Ray token. But this could have happened to anyone. But the fact that this is the largest crypto collapse in history, like, guys, this is huge, huge.
Being handled by a bankruptcy system that hasn't yet figured out crypto. Legal experts say that's because this issue is so new that courts haven't yet had a chance to decide complex legal issues. Like the question of who owns digital currencies. Is it the cryptocurrency exchange or the customer who made a deposit? FTX has said that the number of creditors in bankruptcy could top 1 million. Legal experts say it'll probably be a long time before FTX customers have a better idea of what they'll get back and what legal recourse, if any, they may have against SBF and others that reportedly knew of the misuse of FTX customer funds.
So this video came out 4 days ago. More has transpired since then. Believe it or not, I'm telling you, it's new information every day. That's why I told you guys I had to let me catch up first. Let me catch up. Because this has affected other people. Some you may not expect. Because guys, this actually has affected The Intercept. I kid you not. Let's get into this. Look at this. The Intercept got played by FTX/SBF, and now these establishment hacks are begging you for small dollar donations. So this is the message that The Intercept put out. I kid you not. Earlier this year, The Intercept's philanthropy team was introduced to a potential new funder with an interest in supporting our reporting on biosafety and pandemic prevention. Now, for people who are not aware, I need to tell you who The Intercept is. The Intercept, they're media, they're journalists. Glenn Greenwald was one of the founders of The Intercept, but you guys know he's not with them. Most of you know he's not with them anymore. Ryan Grimm writes for them. There's another gentleman that writes for them. I forget. But yeah. And so I will say this, they're open about where they get their funding from. They are. So like Glenn Greenwald has openly admitted, like, yes, he got billionaire funding to start The Intercept. So he's been honest about that, and they've continued to be honest about where their funding comes from. But wait till you hear what happened with FTX and The Intercept, because now The Intercept's in trouble. And I don't know if everyone's heard this, but they go on to say that funder was one of Sam Bankman-Fried's philanthropic entities, the Building a Stronger Future Foundation. As editor-in-chief of The Intercept, I knew from our coverage that SBF was quickly becoming a polarizing figure. But I also knew our reporters would never pull their punches because of a donation, and they didn't. The Intercept has a long-standing commitment to transparency about our funding. We received $500,000 2 months ago. Another $250,000 was due in December, with $3.25 million to follow over the next 2 years. So like I said, they're pretty open about where their funding comes from. We disclose the grant in our reporting on SBF's political activities. As of right now, all further payments are on hold. Much remains unknown about the future of FTX and SBF's philanthropic giving. We have been in touch with our colleagues at other nonprofit newsrooms that received support from the Building a Stronger Future Foundation. And we remain hopeful that donors committed to this work will step forward. Guys, here's the kicker. But as of today, we have a significant hole in our budget. If you are able, please consider donating today to support The Intercept's crusading independent journalism. That's how much money they lost, because now they're asking people for donations because of this collapse of FTX. This is why when I said this is huge, I wonder what's going to come out tomorrow. Who else is going to be revealed? You know, But for them to have to ask people, listen, we need donations. Oh, yeah, that's right. Ryan Grimm is also part of the Intercept. We need donations. This is huge. Like, as you could see, the Intercept wasn't getting chump change. They're getting $500,000 donations, 3.25 million donations. Long story short, they might be broke now because of this collapse. So people are talking about it. That's been shared on Twitter. I think if you guys want to have that letter, actually, I could put the link in the chat to that as well. But it's not just the Intercept that's been affected by this. Did you know that FTX was also in bed with the Democratic Party? Oh, hold on for this one. Hold on to your seats. I kid you not. I wouldn't even try to exaggerate this. This goes deep. This goes really deep. Sam Bankman-Fried's fall cuts off big source of funds for U.S. Democrats. You guys see this? Let's go on. That's Mr. Sam, by the way. Sam is not having a good week. Sam Bankman-Fried stormed onto the U.S. political scene with a multi-million-dollar donations that led lawmakers, particularly Democrats, to believe he was ushering in the next generation of donors. But in a matter of days, his business empire collapsed into bankruptcy, and the prospect of millions more in donations evaporated. I see you, Bryce. Bryce said, oh, shit, damn. Yeah, I told you this runs deep. Before the fall of Bankman-Fried's cryptocurrency exchange FTX, the entrepreneur had emerged as the second largest donor to Democrats after George Soros. He had vowed to give up to $1 billion to political candidates linked to causes that he supported, a pledge from which he later backed away. He also became one of the most prominent crypto representatives in DC, supporting digital asset legislation and hiring former regulators as advisors. Now let's get down to the Democratic Party part. Sam didn't live up to his commitments, said one Democratic lobbyist. Bankman-Fried's grand spending promises had been more bluster than action. So let's go on. This is Maxwell Frost. Maxwell Frost, along with John Fetterman. Those are the two names I know that right now have been revealed. Also, we're getting donations from him. Let's go on. The entrepreneur was the second largest donor to the Democratic-leaning groups during the latest midterm election, spending $36 million. Soros spent $126 million, but the PAC he supported with that large donation only spent about $15 million this cycle. The majority of Bankman-Fried's donations, about $27 million, went to the other Protect Our Future PAC, which supported candidates that prioritized pandemic prevention. One of his interests, it endorsed 25 Democrats in congressional races this cycle. You guys see this? 25, of which 18 have won so far. Among these were Abigail Spanberger. Remember, she's the CIA Democrat. She came from those operations. And Florida Representative Maxwell Frost, who at 25 will be the youngest member there of Congress. FTX executives doled out nearly $72 million to Democrats and Republicans this election cycle alone. You see this? This is crazy shit, man. This is crazy. While the volumes pledged were akin to those given by longstanding corporate titans, some argued Bankman-Fried's donations were not entirely effective. In Oregon's 6th congressional district, Bankman-Fried Super PAC spent a whopping $11 million on Carrick Flynn, a pandemic researcher and first-time congressional candidate who failed to advance to the election. Some lobbyists and donors said they suspected Bankman-Fried's primary goal in politics had been to further his crypto interest. During the 2022 cycle, Bankman-Fried donated $155,000 to right-wing PACs. You see this? The Alabama Conservative Fund, which backed Republican Alabama Senator-elect Katie Britt. The Heartland Resurgence, which backed Senator John Boozman of Arkansas. This is so corrupt. Both Boozman and Stabe now said this week they would continue to support the Digital Commodities Consumer Protection Act, for which Bankman-Fried campaigned. Listen to this part. The FTX founder and the company's UX counterpart, FTX Us, gave $3.5 million to the GMI PAC, which in turn transferred approximately $5.8 million to Web3 Forward PAC, a pro-crypto super PAC. Web3 Forward has supported the campaigns of Democrats, including Senator-elect John Fetterman and Oregon Senator Ron Wyden. During the election, Bankman-Fried sat out some high-profile races, including Tim Ryan's failed Senate campaign in Ohio, although Ryan had sought to refine the country's infrastructure bill so as not to hit crypto groups. Now, it goes on to say here, there's another piece I want to mention to you. Oh, here we go. The concerns over FTX financial health and its links to Bankman-Fried's proprietary trading group, Alameda Research. Okay, I'm familiar with Alameda Research that triggered a deluge of customer withdrawals from the exchange have also raised questions about the source of funds used for donations. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is investigating FTX over its crypto leading activities and management of customer funds, according to a person familiar with the matter. By the way, this article is from Financial Times. I highly recommend if you want to learn about more finance information, anything financial, to follow them, because that is their thing. That's kind of all they focus on, just the money. You want to focus on the money, to follow them. So that article, Eric, if you can put the link to that in the chat so people can read the rest of it before I go to the other part. That article is a little bit longer, but so this, you guys seeing the connections here? So you have money from FTX going into the Democratic Party. You see the connection there? Also the connection with The Intercept. So what would connect all these groups? Money. All connected. I'll take that comment on Rockfin and then I'll go to the next part, because there's a part 2 to this. Told you this story is crazy. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Cuomo signed the Marriage Equality Act into law his first year in office in 2011, legalizing gay marriage, not as an executive order or court case, but an actual law. You're definitely right about the black church pimps in the pulpit. The preacher, the pastor, the reverend stealing the money from the congregation, riding in fancy cars, wearing fancy jewelry and clothes, living in a mansion, screwing all the ladies. Oh boy, Roger stepped in it, screwing all the ladies. Thanks for this as well. Living in New York, a lot of Dominicans have always had a heavy Dominican population. So you've always known that they never had love for black people, nor Puerto Ricans who actually embrace their African ancestry. I have when they put it on display every year on the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Thank you for that, Roger. And thank you for this tip on Rockfin as well. That's right, Sabs. All you need is 10 fingers with that wall. Me too. The Haitian/Dominican history is complex, but yeah, lots of bad stuff there. This stuff is crazy, oppressive shit, very dangerous. Those influencing Haiti this way. That's right. That's right. Now, back to FTX. I told you this is part 2. Long ass story. There was actually someone who predicted that this collapse was going to happen. Let's get into that story. I predicted FTX collapse a month before it happened. Oh boy, let's get into it. Now, this is from Ishan. In a year filled with jaw-dropping unveilings, none compared to a bewildering fall of Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX exchange. While many were stunned, there were a few telltale signs that may have indicated not everything was peachy perfect over at FTX headquarters. These issues began to compound, and on October 5th, I published a detailed commentary about my decision to begin to pull funds out. So he had already announced this. He said on Twitter, I'm taking all of my capital out of FTX and going short FTT. FTX has been swinging and missing all year long on so many activations, and something shady is going on at FTX. Here's 12 reasons why I'm completely cutting out the FTX mafia. So he posted a thread. Let me go through the whole thread here. I'll come back to the thread. The bottom line is that things didn't seem right. A month later, we're witnessing the fallout. So here are certain things that he points out, you guys. Top executives leaving. By the way, that's a big red flag. Especially for those of you that are job hunting. When you see, if you're job hunting and all the management stepping down, run. Top executives leaving. So that was a red flag. Poor business performance. He said, as a private company, it was difficult to fully grasp the financial outlook for FTX, but there were signs of trouble. So he goes into this and he breaks it down. He said, come here. Whoops, I skipped a part. Here we go. FTX launched FTX stocks to offer U.S. investors exposure to equities, a weird product extension for a crypto native firm. Why not provide more crypto related products or create solutions to help the industry? Even then, it seemed like a weak attempt at recovering some lost revenues from the reduction in volume. And he also went on to say, I wanted to mention this part right here, that the trading volume was down significantly. It had decreased to December 2020 levels that hadn't been seen since the monumental bull run again. So there were things that he pointed out. I do want to go to his thread though, because he shows screenshots here. So let me, if you're still there, Sam, I don't know if you're still there or not. Okay, yeah, you are there. Not Sam, Ishan. So let's walk with him through this. Volume is down. Let's get the easy one out of the way. Yes, we're in a bear, but volume is still down. 75% down from its peak. They're doing 3 to 4B in volume some days. Those are December 2020 levels. So that was one thing that he noticed. See? And he put the thing here, FTX trading volume. See how it went down? So he was smart. Ishan said, y'all, you know what? I'm gonna get my money and get up out of here. Next, he said DEX and derivative volume is up. Besides being in a bear, FTX is losing derivative market share to decentralized products. DEX are just more efficient with less overhead expenses. Again, he shows figures for each one of these. That's why I think this is important to note. He gave visuals. So he was watching what was going on. 3, splintered attention. Instead of focusing on one goal, like making the best possible trading product, attention is getting splintered. FTX, NFTs, massive failure. Sam talking about buying Twitter or joining Elon's bid. That was another thing too about Sam, the guy who's responsible for FTX. Sam also had thought about buying Twitter at one point. It seemed like this guy was all over the place. Then he goes on to this part here. He said this also led to messages from the court filed. So this is recreated. And he talks about some of the messages that came from the court. He said, hey, I saw your poll on Twitter about Twitter and free speech. I'm not sure if this is what's on your mind, but my collaborator, Sam Bankman-Fried, has for a while been potentially interested in purchasing it and then making it better for the world. If you want to talk with him about a possible joint effort in this direction, his number is, and of course, this is redacted so people don't harass him. But Sam was trying to buy Twitter too. He was thinking about that as well. Could you imagine what would have happened if, oh, I'm not going to get into that. He also went on to say again, top executives leaving. That's important, guys. That's a huge red flag when they start to walk away. He goes on to say either something shady is happening or these guys are post-economic. Either way, I'm out. And that was probably very, very wise decision there. Very wise decision. So he got out before shit hit the fan. And he tried to warn people, anyone who was following him on Twitter. He tried to give people a heads up like, hey, something's about to happen here. I think people need to roll out. But here's the thing. A lot of people, it's not just Sam that's getting heat about FTX and promoting FTX. Celebrities that promoted FTX are also getting heat from people. Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, and also Steph Curry. Now, Case Study QB, he clipped this. Shout out to Case doing the damn thing. Here's a clip here where they show the stars who endorsed it. So listen to what they had to say here. This is important for people to know. Let's go ahead and bring this in here. Okay. I don't know where the play button.
You know what? I'm in. Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Larry David, Naomi Osaka, and Steph Curry are among the celebrities accused in a class action lawsuit of being part of a, quote, fraudulent scheme designed to take advantage of unsophisticated investors that led to $11 billion in damages.
It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
Yeah, I don't think so. All stemming from their involvement in promoting crypto exchange FTX. FTX's founder and CEO Sam Bankman-Fried was until recently the darling of the crypto community. His company, once valued at more than $32 billion, is now seeking bankruptcy protection.
We're talking about one of the larger bankruptcies we've seen in a long time.
The FTX founder, also named in the lawsuit, resigned as CEO as his company collapsed. He did not reply to NBC's request for comment, but in a direct message exchange with a reporter wrote, F regulators, they make everything worse. We also did not hear back from representatives for celebrities named in the lawsuit for appearing in.
Okay. Uh-oh. It moved on me. I'm sorry. I was going to try to show you that. All right. So some of the celebrities here, so they're even saying in the video, they have not heard back from their representatives that appeared in the commercials for it. And I'm going to finish playing the clip in just a second, but let's be real here for a second. They endorsed it. And when a celebrity endorses a product or a brand, that actually carries a lot of weight. People who love Tom Brady are probably like, okay, Tom Brady's endorsing this. It must be a good thing to do. I'll go ahead and buy in. People who love Steph Curry, same thing. They're like, oh yeah, Steph Curry, let me go ahead and buy in. That's why people use celebrities for endorsements, because they know that they'll sell their products for them. So for them to just be quiet right now, no, you guys, you stood by the product. You endorsed it. I think every one of them should at least release some type of a statement. You know what I mean? What's going on, Case? Hey, much love, Sabby Sabs in the chat. But to just hide from the press and not say anything, no, that's not the right answer right now. You guys realize how much money was lost? How many people lost? Bankruptcy level. Bankruptcy level. It's not just Sam It's everybody else who had their money tied up in it too. I told you The Intercept broke. I mean, this is terrible. What's that, M. Smith? Seriously, why would you take investment advice from a celebrity? People don't care. They just see it's Tom Brady. That's the thing. That's the thing. It works. That's why they use it. Now let's go back a little bit here because I think I skipped over one part. Yeah.
F regulators, they make everything worse. We also did not hear back from representatives for celebrities named in the lawsuit for appearing in ads like this.
With FTX, I have everything I need to buy, sell, and trade crypto safely.
But the lawsuit calls FTX's platform a Ponzi scheme and says of the defendants, none performed any due diligence.
These celebrities all should have known that when they took this risk, that if these are unregistered securities, they're looking at liability for all of the damages.
Bankman-Fried has been accused of moving billions in customers' funds without their permission to another one of his companies. His exchange then faced what was akin to a run on the bank, and now customers can't get their money out.
That money I had put aside for my granddaughter so I can use for Christmas, and now I have to figure out another way to do it.
The new lawsuit now calls for accountability from FTX's big-name endorsers. Jake Ward, NBC News, San Francisco.
I know that I do understand that Tom Brady and Giselle dealing with like their whole divorce settlement. I understand they're dealing with that, but not a good look. Not a good look. If you guys know anyone that was invested in this, let me know in the chat. I wasn't. If I was, I would not be here right now. I'm probably crying somewhere. I probably would. I was just like, oh my God. I don't know. It's just Echo J says regulations equal consumer protections. See, this is the thing. Like, he didn't want that. Sam, he said, even in the interview clip, he didn't want any type of regulation. Like, this is worse. If I'm thinking about the numbers, this is worse than Enron. I don't know, you guys. All I can say is just, here's my advice. Number one, be careful about jumping on the next new thing. Be careful with that. It's new. If it's shiny, I mean, it could still fall. Just be careful with that. And two, I mean, I'm very careful, like, with my money. And what I mean by that is like, I don't gamble. I don't do lottery. Every time I go to the convenience store, I see older people buying lottery tickets. And it really makes me sad because it's like, if I'm seeing someone in their 80s have to buy like lottery tickets or scratch tickets all the time, that tell me that person has gotten all the way to that point in their life and still economically they're not set. And that's really sad to me. It is really, it's a problem. But I don't gamble. I don't do any of that. Like, basically, I try to hold on to what I have, which is why I don't need have much. Like, we talk about this, like, even with my house, like, we don't have a lot of stuff in here. I don't like clutter. And I just don't like to spend. I don't like spending money, right? So to me, like, this is just, I wouldn't have done it anyway. But the celebrity endorsements, I'm sure, might have pushed some people to do it. But I think they should either just say something, like, just be like, look, I don't endorse this anymore, whatever, something. But this is bankruptcy level. And I mean, I feel sorry for everyone that lost their money that was involved. But I don't know, maybe this might be a lesson for all of us, right? And who knows, like I said, every day more information is coming out about this. So tomorrow there may be something else that comes out about it. Something else that comes out, you know? That sucks about The Intercept, though. That, I don't know, man. Might have to talk to Ryan Grimm about that one. So Zach said, Sabby, the reason they're all in Delaware is because it's a tax haven. Biden was a legislator there, and he jerry-rigged the laws to make it favorable for multinational corporations to operate there. Gotcha. Thanks so much for that. Thanks for the super chat, Jay. Y'all, this Elizabeth Holmes 3.0. Oh my God. Well said, Jay. Well said. That's a good way of putting it. Robert said so much corruption. Indeed. Thank you for the super chat, Jacqueline. Didn't them effers learn from Bernie Madoff scam? I guess not. Guess not. Thank you for the super chat, Donald. I'm not saying that whole name. Dems get played by some grifter crypto bro. Yo, this is crazy. This shit is wild. Could you imagine if he had bought Twitter? And thanks for the super chat as well, Jay. It's called Risk. All lawsuits should be thrown. Whew. Elvin, big government is not the problem, but being unregulated corporations are. JB Font, regulation is what tax dollars supposedly pay for. This is why we need some regulations. Joanne, the difference between Enron and this is that the Enron people had no control over what the CEO was doing with their money. That's true. With FTX, people went in freely with their money and got suckered. That's true too. Good point. Good point. Thanks for the super chat, M. Smith. I've interviewed with a few of the most well-known crypto companies for senior level compliance positions. Their compliance programs are trash. Ouch. Interesting. John, has nobody yet mentioned the Ponzi scheme called capitalism? Well said, John. Well said. I think there's a comment on Rockfin. I'll take that, Eric, and then I'll go to the next story. I told you guys that FTX stuff was long. I was like, look, this is a long story. Thank you for the tip, Roger. I didn't watch Monday's economic update, but if Wolf covered it, I could just hear him whispering into the ether. FTX is a symptom of the bigger problem, just like the pandemic crash, subprime mortgage crash of 2008, 2000.com, 1987 Wall Street. 1987 Wall Street crash, the Great Depression. Those were the symptoms of the problem. Those were the symptoms. The problem is capitalism. Since outsourcing of manufacturing jobs, investment, and get rich quick scams rocketed. Well said. I'll check and see if Richard Wolff talked about it because I haven't been over there this week. So I'll check that. All right, we're going into our final story here. This is Khanna and Robert Reich. They had an interview about what happens now. The fact that Trump is running again as president, and the Republican Party does have control over the House. So. What's with the 1992? I guess when I first saw this, I definitely did not play it from the beginning. What's with the 1992 music? Like it sounds like it's from the 90s. I'm sorry.
I'm so pleased to have once again my good friend, Congressman Khanna, who represents Silicon Valley, co-chairman of the Progressive.
Can we make this a little bit louder, Eric? Thanks.
Caucus. I'm so pleased to have once again my good friend, Congressman Khanna, who represents Silicon Valley, co-chairman of the Progressive Caucus in Congress. Let's just start with how you feel after the midterm elections and when the smoke is beginning to clear.
Well, great to be back on. I'm feeling very, very positive. I mean, we vastly overperformed expectations, certainly overperformed even my expectations. We'll keep the Senate even before we get to the runoff with Warnock. In the House, we have an outside shot. I mean, the conventional wisdom, among others, is probably we end up down a few seats. But the question is Kevin McCarthy going to be Speaker or not?
Why do you think that Kevin McCarthy may not be the next speaker, assuming, again, that Republicans take control of the House?
Listen to this.
Well, he is not well liked by the Trump base. He has tried his hardest to grovel towards Trump, which is the absolute irony, because he basically compromised his own beliefs and may not get the brass ring at the end of all of this.
Boy, did he.
So basically what Khanna is telling you is that some of the MAGA Republicans that are in the House may not vote for Kevin McCarthy unless, I told you guys, they had a list of things, of demands that they wanted Kevin McCarthy to do. They may not do that, and that could cost him the speakership. Now, this is exactly what we were asking the squad to do in reference to Nancy Pelosi. We were asking them to do the exact same thing. So it looked kind of silly, because it's like, Khanna, weren't you on that poster for Force the Vote? Khanna was on that poster. So what Khanna letting you know is that those MAGA Republicans, they have the courage to do something that the progressive Democrats did not have the courage to do. They didn't make any demands. They didn't make any demands, Nancy Pelosi. Just let me go ahead and just give you my vote.
He ever grovel? I mean, how many days was it between the time he actually criticized Trump for inciting violence on January 6th, and then when he goes and grovels and basically makes a display of his own lack of integrity? Was it 3 minutes?
That was a few days. And look, McCarthy is an institutionalist. He was an institutionalist. He was not one of these people who came in saying, let's burn the whole place down. He was someone who, like most people, was genuinely offended and angry that we basically had an insurrection of people roaming the Capitol trying to kill members of Congress. And so he was his true self the day after, saying, this is outrageous, let's condemn this. And then he realized that he needed Donald Trump, less for the election and more for his own survival within his own caucus, and he quickly changed. And look, as everyone who is with Trump will realize, Trump is going to throw him under the bus.
Speaking of throwing under the bus, what's your political prognostication, Ro, in terms of Donald Trump? I mean, there are a lot of people right now saying the emperor has no clothes, and this is a great time for Republicans to get off the bus.
Well, if they had any political sort of sanity left, they would see that election denialism is not a winning political strategy.
What is this? What is this white thing here? This is the second time I've seen this. Is this a bowl or what is that? Sorry, that just, it bothers me. I'm just still trying to figure out what that is.
And running extreme candidates or having Donald Trump pick your candidates is a recipe for losing. But I have predicted Donald Trump's demise too often and been wrong too often. I thought he wouldn't last after January 6th, and I've seen him command this loyalty of his base.
I'm going to talk more about this on Friday, because I just saw this earlier today. Did you guys know that Donald Trump now he's polling really well now? Since his announcement, he's polling really well. He's doing better than I thought he would do, to be honest with you. And what I was particularly looking at was the comparison between him and Ron DeSantis. A couple of months ago, Ron DeSantis was beating him in that poll. Now, Trump is beating Ron DeSantis. I'll go into more detail. I got charts and all that stuff. I'll go into more detail about it on Friday. So here's what we don't want to let happen. Don't get comfortable and just assume that because Trump is not the same as he was when he ran last time, that his base has completely left him. That's actually not true. Some people have moved away from it, but what you also have to understand, there are some people that they just vote for party regardless. So if Ron DeSantis don't run and Trump runs, even if they don't like Trump, they'll still probably vote for him because they voting for their party. So I hope that people who are Democrats are not getting too comfortable here and just assuming that the Trump base has moved away. That, based on what I've seen, and for those of you that live in areas where he still has a lot of support, I got to tell you, that is not completely true. Some have left, but he still has a strong base.
And I have yet to see enough people come out and say absolutely not. Trump should not be the nominee.
Rupert Murdoch seems to be deciding against Trump. I mean, I was really surprised. This is not a sudden conversion. Murdoch has been distancing himself from Trump, but if you look at his outlets and the editorializing we've seen over the last couple of days, Murdoch is, he sees where the wind is blowing. Should we take that seriously? Should we take that as a major indication? Like you, I've been predicting Trump's demise more than anybody, but I would like to think that maybe we are seeing the end of the reign.
At least we've settled this question that Donald Trump is not an electoral asset. I mean, I think people are realizing, at least in the elites of the party, that this idea that he gets greater turnout and is some asset to win is no longer the case. And now
but there's a difference between him supporting other candidates and him running himself. And this is the part I think some people might sleep on. Don't think that just because most of the Trump endorsed candidates lost, that means that his base is gone. There's a difference between just because someone likes Trump doesn't necessarily mean they like the candidate that he endorsed. I think this is a mistake. If Democrats are doing this, I think this is a big mistake.
Question is, do they just have to run one more cycle with him involved? Basically, I think giving Joe Biden a re-election if he were the nominee, or is there a way that they can stop him?
Should we be hoping, that is, we Democrats be hoping that he runs?
No, for two reasons. One, he's just a cancer on our body politics. And to the extent that you care about America, to the extent you care about this country healing, having some constructive politics, the worst thing would be for Donald Trump to run. And I have confidence in the president. I mean, he has been underestimated consistently. He had one of the best midterm showings of recent times. I believe he would defeat whoever the Republican nominee is. I think we could easily beat DeSantis. I mean, DeSantis has attacked the First Amendment with companies.
That's not what the polling shows. See how they're already getting ahead of themselves? Just like they didn't think Trump would win the first time when he was running against Hillary Clinton. They're already getting ahead of themselves. I looked at the polls today, and the polls don't look good for Joe Biden. I'm just telling you that right now.
Like Disney, he's shown utter cruelty on immigration. He basically allowed for the economy of Florida to survive while 1 million people with COVID died. And I just think Biden will come off as far more presidential and decent. And I don't think DeSantis is as strong as people think.
No, Roe ain't looking. No. Roe has not looked at any polls. Like, I'm serious. I'm telling you guys, like, because I was like, let me prep for start picking stories for Friday's show. Because oh yes, I'm going to be live tomorrow, you guys. I'll tell you that later anyway. But I looked at the polls, and Khanna's talking a little bit too confident here, just saying that like, oh no, like Biden's more presidential, so people will. Trump wasn't presidential. That didn't stop people from voting for him in 2016. And I think again, like, if he sleeps on this, if people like Khanna sleep on this, you might get another surprising. First and foremost, Ron DeSantis is incredibly popular. I don't think some people think it's just Florida. It's not just Florida who like him. So incredibly popular. He's doing very well in the polls. And I'm telling you guys, as I said it before, Ron DeSantis could beat Joe Biden. And someone put the comment up there earlier. I think you just, Eric, I think you had just put the comment up there what Jacqueline said about the number of people that have moved over to Trump, like even Black people that have moved over towards Donald Trump after everything that's happened this year economically. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Yes, thanks, Jacqueline. There are a lot of people that still love Trump, and the amount of Black folk that are turning to Trump would surprise you. I'm telling you. This is something they sleep on this. And I'm like, I don't think you guys understand. Underestimate Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump if you want to. And people are going to be looking sad again, just like they were in 2016.
Rob, just between us, I mean, we're just having a conversation. Let's over coffee here. Do you honestly think that Joe Biden should run again?
Yes, for two reasons. I honestly do. And I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, and I was a co-chair.
Basically, he was a fraud. I really don't get the people who went from supporting Bernie Sanders to, oh yeah, Joe Biden, let me support. He's doing such a great job. Like on policy, they're not the same. They're not asking for the same things. So I don't understand that. I really don't. Economically, I don't get it. So he moved along where the wind blew. That's what Ro Khanna did.
Of his campaign, and I still would love for Bernie's agenda. But the reason is one, the incumbent presidency has a huge advantage, just historically. And to throw out the advantage of being the incumbent president, I think is giving up a lot. And so why would we want to do that as a party? And the second,
because he's horrible. Because he can barely finish a sentence sometimes, Ro Khanna. Because economically, like, he's caused a lot of problems. His policies, this reminds me of Barack Obama all over again, where Barack Obama made economic decisions that really hurt people in the United States, particularly Black homeowners. Like, he made bad decisions when it came to the economy. And you have Joe Biden doing the same thing. So it's like, he's like, well, why wouldn't you want him to? Because everything I just told you, the inflation, no codifying Roe v. Wade, the student loan debt blocked. You ended the child tax credit early. Joe Biden don't even know where he is half the time. No, he should not run. And I've said this before. It should be someone who is further left than Joe Biden, someone who is more progressive. Oh boy.
I think is Joe Biden has had a lot of success. I mean, we had the Inflation Reduction Act, the biggest climate bill. We had the CHIPS Act. We had the infrastructure bill. And he had a more successful midterm than either President Obama or President Clinton, who were probably greater political talents in terms of just oratory and charisma. But Biden.
But those things that he mentioned don't deliver economically for the people, though. You see what I mean? Like, who's really winning there? Yes, our infrastructure, we have issues with the infrastructure in the United States. That don't put money in people's pocket, though. Look, you guys voted against increasing the $15 minimum wage. 7 Democrats voted against that. And people think the American people don't see this shit. They think the American people don't see that the things that they are passing don't really benefit us. And if they do, they benefit a select few because it's means tested, or they end it early like they did the child tax credit. They couldn't even give you a $2,000 check that they promised because they're cheap.
Has delivered. And so I don't see a case really, unless he himself and his family said they don't want to do it, for us not to support him. And the other point is, I don't see any point of sort of the speculation of should he or shouldn't he run, because the reality is if he chooses to run, no one credible in the Democratic Party is going to challenge him. And so we might.
They're not going to challenge him because they're not going to keep their seat if they do. Because I would push back on that and ask that question. If I was Robert Reich, I would push back on Ro Khanna and ask, why wouldn't they do that?
Will make him as strong as possible.
Well, I understand that, but I'm 76 years old. He's what? 82. I mean, there is an issue of age. You get a little bit slower. I mean, my mind is better than it's ever been, obviously, but there is a slowing down. And young people who really distinguished themselves in this midterm, I mean, midterm election, both this time and the last midterm election, young people came out in extraordinary large numbers. I mean, is Joe Biden the kind of person, given his, I don't want to be an ageist here, but is Joe Biden the kind of person who's going to attract a new generation of young progressives and Democrats?
Well, look, I think he's going to need an army of 20 people like me. I suggest my name immodestly, but others on all spectrums of the party to be out there driving his climate message, driving his economic message. And I think he's got to be more intentional this time about saying not that he's a bridge to a new generation, but that he's really going to bring in the new generation of voices in how he governs, both in the next 2 years and hopefully if he's reelected. And that He's going to include many more new voices, new perspectives in the governance of the country. That
Not after that blockage of the student loan debt cancellation. I'm telling you, that's why some people came out, and some people came out because of Roe v. Wade, right? The codified issue. But you took those things away from the people. Like it's terrible.
to me seems like the best bet. But I just think that the risk of having an open primary, and I think it would be an open primary, and you'd have 15 candidates run, and it's unclear who would emerge, that I'm not sure that we want to do that while Trump still lurks out there, while DeSantis lurks out there. I do.
See, this is always going to be the excuse. You see, Khanna proved my point that they're always going to use that excuse for the reason why it is not time for someone progressive to be in that spot. This is why the progressive policies are never going to get passed, because every time you may have someone who's progressive that really wants to take on that mantle, like a Bernie Sanders, and run for president. If you have the Khannas of the world telling you, well, we shouldn't take that chance right now because you got Trump running for president. Oh, and there's also Ron DeSantis who could possibly run. Well, this is going to continue forever. They're always going to be able to use that argument. They can say that 10 years from now, we may get a Trump-like figure. We can't take that chance because we'll get someone like Trump. You see the problem? So if they keep making that argument, then you're never going to have a progressive or leftist, whatever you want to call it, president. And if you don't have that, how are you going to get these progressive policy passed? Because look, even the ones that were passing in the House didn't pass in the Senate. And the ones that passed in the House weren't really all that progressive. So this is a problem. This is something I want people to pay close attention to. Notice the framing. This is where the fear mongering comes in. We can't take that risk right now to bring in someone progressive or someone younger. We can't take that risk because of Trump, because of DeSantis, and 15 years from now, it'll be because of somebody else.
I think getting behind Biden is the best bet at this point with a threat to our democracy.
Ro, let me ask you about the next couple of months. Again, assuming Republicans took over the House, is there anything that the Democrats can and should try to do in the lame duck? I mean, for example, a national right to abortion. I mean, that would be difficult to take away, or an expanded permanent child tax credit. I mean, things that actually, if they were there, the Republicans, once they came in January, would have a very, very hard time reversing.
I agree with you. I think we should be pushing on the child tax credit in the lame duck. I mean, that's basically putting $600 back in the families of working families. If you want to tackle inflation, that's one of the best things we can do. We should.
$600. He want to be cheap when it comes to the American people, but they got all the money in the world for Ukraine. If you can give billions of dollars to Ukraine, you can give billions of dollars to the American people. What's $600 going to do?
Try to codify Roe versus. We've done, if the Republicans are in power, is there really anything at this point that the Republicans would agree to? And it's unclear to me that they would. So that the best opportunity is the lame duck, and we should try to get as much of our agenda done as possible.
Finally,
they don't have that much time left.
You're looking at the next 2 years.
They don't have that much time left to get things done. January is going to be around the corner, believe it or not. I don't even want to start talking about Christmas yet, because I know some people, it makes some people nervous, and people start hearing about the holidays, and sometimes they're just like, I don't want to hear about that. I'm not ready for that. I know that can make people nervous. So, but January is just around the corner. And I mean, you want to talk about what they should be doing during lame duck. Like, you should be trying to codify Roe v. Wade. Like I said, when Joe Biden said we're not going to be able to do it, we don't have, we didn't keep the Senate or whatever. We didn't take over the Senate. in order to do this type of thing. And I'm like, you should still try, because if you show the American people that you guys aren't even willing to try, like, that's a low blow. That's a low blow to people, like, seriously. So that's my take on it. I think Robert should have pushed back more, but you can watch the rest of the video if you want to as well. That's actually on his channel. I did forget to mention that part. It's called What's Next After the Midterms, Khanna and Robert Reich Discuss. So check that out if you want to see the full interview there. So yeah, that's that. I don't know, dude. I think they're underestimating people like Trump and DeSantis, and I think that's a big mistake. Thank you for the super chat, Jay. Republican-controlled House equals Biden excuses. Yep. And thank you for this one as well. MAGA rep is equivalent to progressive Dems. JB, Sabby is the queen of charts and graphs. Just picture it. Sabby dressed like the queen of spades, but with charts and graphs. I love charts and graphs. I was that one. You guys had that kid in your math class, the kid in your math class that was like, let's do a chart. Let's do a graph. Like, that was me. Like, they would give me numbers and figures. I'm like, hold up. Let's put all this on the graph. I like visual aids. Deborah says, I don't believe The Intercept is hurting. They are funded by eBay co-founder Pierre Omidyar. They tried to put up a front that they are unbought by getting small dollar donors, so average donation is lower. The Traveler, I don't like Robert Reich. He says the issues accurately and how to fix them, but every 2 or so years, he goes back to the DNC and tells you to vote for them. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Thank you for the super chat, Jay. 21% of Blacks in Texas voted for Professor C19. Greg, I don't know who that is. I'll have to look that up. And Robin, RBN opened their show with MLK warning about people advocating patience. Roe is not on your side. Right. It's part of MLK refers to this as part of the strategy of the moderates. Like, that's what they'll do. They'll tell you to wait. And all that time you're waiting, you could have actually been building something. So yeah, their goal is to stall you. They will stall you. What's that, Yasmin? I'll take that comment on Rockfin as well, Eric. Geez, I keep calling him Roger. Dang, Sabby, I wish we had the same math class. Math used to kick my butt. Yeah. Greg Abbott. Okay. I wasn't a big fan of math per se. I hated algebra. I love geometry though. And I like geometry because, again, there's figures. I have pictures. I have chart. I have graph. I can relate. But that's weird. I got a thing saying that there was. Oh, that's old. I'm sorry. Sorry, Eric. But I like pictures. I like to look at charts and graphs, and like, you take all those numbers, you can write them down on a piece of paper, or you can take those numbers and you can put them up on a graph, blow that sucker up, and let everybody see what you're talking about. Otherwise, you can lose people. Thanks for the super chat, Jay. Greg Abbott, aka Professor. Professor C19. Gotcha. Yeah. Tomorrow, I do have a special live stream. Max Blumenthal will be here. I'll be live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss that. And if you have not done so, guys, please sign up for my newsletter. I don't rely on YouTube notification for videos. I don't get them most of the time for the channels that I'm subscribed to. But if you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get that notification that I'm going live. So you'll know that. It usually goes out 10 minutes before I go live. So you'll get that for tomorrow too. So I'm here for it. So yeah, I will be live tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Max Blumenthal will be here. And then I am not streaming this Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. So I'll be hanging out with the fams and all that good stuff. And then I'll be back Friday again. So join me tomorrow, special live stream. Other than that, guys, that is it. I think we're going to try to clip the FTX story because that's a lot to break down. That'll probably be the one clipped. But other than that, I'm heading out, honey buns. What is that? Oh, okay. Can you put that up? Yeah, I thought I got something that said that came up. I'm just waiting on that Rockfin comment. Okay. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. We need a constitutional amendment that forces the government to fund all. Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin. This is why it's important that we get single payer on the ballot for 2024 in ballot initiative states. Reason being, once Joe loses, we're going to lose Xavier Becerra, January 20th, 2025. So whoever the Republican puts head of HHS won't be granting federal waivers for states who wish to pursue their own healthcare option. Interesting. And thank you for this super chat, Roger. Yes, MLK tranquilizing drug of gradualism. It's a stalling tactic. And that's also how you can spot infiltrators that are part of the activist or organizing movement. They'll try to do everything that they can to stall the action so that it doesn't happen. Yeah, you got to be careful with those people. You got to be careful with those. But just call them out as it is. They'll disappear. You'd be surprised how quickly they will run. Oh, man. All right, guys, that is it. I hope you had fun with me tonight. Join me tomorrow afternoon for a special live stream. And you know how we do this. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.